Okay, this is Alex Duenas again, and this is DT 2510, Advanced CAD Methods, Week 3. And as you see on the screen here, I've got the assignment tracking sheet, which indicates what assignments are due for this week. So you have 2 labs and you have 1 homework assignment. And let's see, let's scroll down here to see what we're going to cover. We're going to cover chapters 10 and 11, having to do with adding text and adding tables and including fields. I think they've thrown kind of a mixed bag of stuff in this chapter, first chapter 10, but primarily it's about text. And the discussion is going to run something to this effect. What we want to do is we want to size the text for the final output size. So your final output size is typically either 24 by 36 inch drawing. If you're on architecture, it's 30 by 42, and if it's mechanical, it's 22 by 34, an NCD. So so you need to know what scale you're going to be plotting to in order to be able to size your text correctly. Now, if you were in class, I passed out a cheat sheet of the different text sizes for the respective architectural scales, and I'll cover those. And also I'm going to cover how we calculate text for civil. It's a little different because in civil we measure everything in feet, and in architecture the default units are in inches. So that's so the calculation runs a little differently. Okay, let's take a look again. We're covering chapter 10 and 11 in our textbook, and that's just a summary for next week. Anyway, so here's your plates, your handouts in order. This is HO1, I think, HO2. So your job is to take these plates and manipulate the text and put some text in that it's going to make you're going to manipulate it and make the text look like that. Okay, but these are just PDFs of the drawings that you're supposed to use, and those drawings are in the Dropbox up under the in fact, I forget where those are. Let's see, Dropbox. They are in the DT 2510. They are in the project folder, week 3, and they are in the class exercise. These are the ones that you want to get. Okay, these that I stuck in here are drawings that I used for the demo. In fact, I just might go back to using these for the demo. Let me do that. I'm going to open this up. Okay, I'm going to say close, and I'm just going to use this drawing that I've been working on at work. Okay, this is again a drawing that I used at work, and I have a choice. I can either use this drawing, or I can use this drawing, the drawing that the textbook uses. And you know what, maybe for simplicity I'll use the textbook drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this drawing and go back to the textbook drawing. Okay, again, the whole object of this exercise is to set up the size of the text for your final plotting size, and also setting up the text for variable scales of plots. So for instance, let's say this right here, this I guess it's studio apartment, kind of a small studio apartment, is 29 feet deep. Now that's 29 feet. You're not going to get 29 feet on a piece of paper 24 by 36, let alone a page 22 by 34. So what you need to do is you need to figure out, well, what scale is this going to fit in? Okay, how much of this picture can I stick into the plan? So with that said, let me go to the layout here where I have a 24 by 36 inch frame set up, an M view. Okay, here we are now in the layout space. Okay, notice that paper space, the paper space layout, the one I call paper space layout, tile mode 0. And as you can tell, I'm in the model right now, and I double clicked and I'm here in model space. Okay, let me double click out. Remember that? You're in paper space, double click inside, you're in model space. Okay, so the little apartment here came in at about some funky little scale. If you can read this down here, the scale, the viewport scale is at 0.011. Okay, now that's kind of like too small. So what I want to do is I want to kind of fit this into our sheet size. And this is a 24 by 36 inch sheet, and I need this bedroom here, or this studio apartment, to kind of fill 3/4 of the page. That'll give me enough room for the dimensioning. Okay, so I think I remember mentioning in class that you need a text height of about 0.12 to 0.125. That's 1/8 of an inch. So how do we calculate that? Well, first of all, we need to get to a nice round architect scale. Okay, right now this is kind of 0.011433. It's kind of an oddball. So what I normally do is I kind of get kind of zoom in until I get the size that I want. Kind of, that's about it right there. So then I kind of guess. I come in here, I took a look at all the architectural scales that I have here. So let me try 3/16 equals 1 foot. Let me try that. No, that's too small. Okay, let's go with, how about 3? That's about twice the size. Let's try 3/8. Hey, that's not too bad. That's close. Let's try 1/2. Well, let's try 1/4. Too small. Let's try 1/2. I think that's perfect. Okay, so since I like this one, I like the 1/2 equals a foot. And I'm going to lock the viewport. That way, when I lock the viewport, even though I'm in model space, you can tell you're in model space because of this icon, I can zoom in and out and not lose my view. All right. Okay, so now we know something. We know that it's 1.5 inch equals a foot. That's what our scale is. Okay, that's nice. Now, how do we figure out what the scale is, or what the text size should be for this respective scale? So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a little bit of math. Okay, and so we know that my text size is 1/2, or I'm sorry, we know that our text size, preferable text size, is 1/8 of an inch, 0.12 or 1/8 of an inch. We know that we're starting off with a scale of 1/2 inch equals a foot. That's the architect scale. Okay, and that's what, again, we want 1/8 of an inch letter size. Okay, now remember in civil, I mentioned that civil is real easy. So if we have 1 inch equals 40 feet, and we want 1/8 inch lettering, all we do is multiply the size of the letter by the scale, okay, which is 40 feet, and this is 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to end up with something like 4.8 feet. That's what size our text should be for a 40 scale. So notice in this format, in civil format, okay, we have the 1 here in the front. That's important because in architect scale we have 1/2, not 1. So in order to play this trick, we need to get this front part of this equation to 1. So what do? We multiply both sides of the equation by the same number in order to get this 1/2 to 1, and that would be the reciprocal of 1/2, which would be 2. So 2 over 1 times 1/2 equals 1 foot times 2 over 1, because we're multiplying both sides of the equation by the same number. That infers 1 is on this side and 2 is on that side, 2 feet. Okay, and that's inch. All right, so here we are. We have the 1 to 2. That's kind of the way civil's set up, 1 to whatever the scale is. Now we can go ahead and multiply out our height of the text. Not really, because here we have feet and here we have inches. We need apples to apples. So we know that 1 inch equals 2 feet. That's 24 inches. Okay, now let's multiply that. So 24 inches times 1/8 and 3 goes, I'm sorry, 8 goes into 24 3 times and goes into 1. So your answer is going to be 3 inches. Okay, let's test that. Okay, let's go back to AutoCAD. So in order to create text, you have to create a style. And the shortcut keys for style is ST. Okay, up comes this window. Okay, so let's see. So we're going to create a text style for 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. So we're going to create a new one. And we're going to say this is probably MS for model space. One model space, let's see, let's say -H for 1/2 inch. I'm just making this up. And this is going to be 120. Okay. And we're going to say, so this means model space, height, I'm sorry, H for 1/2. And the 120 is the size of the text. That's basically 1/8 of an inch. Okay, here we go. So I say, okay, and there's my text name. I got to call this Wilbur. It wouldn't have mattered. As long as you know you want to put some nomenclature in here of something you'll remember. Anyway, so I can go in here, and the text height we calculated was 3 inches. Remember that? So I want to put in 3 and then put the inch mark there. Well, actually, I think if I just hit 3, it accepts it. AutoCAD accepts it because inches are the default units for AutoCAD. If I was in Civil, couldn't get away with that. But here in, if I just have an architectural units base set up, that would be okay. Now, this is the style. The style can direct AutoCAD to use whichever font that we choose. Now, if you take a look at the fonts list here, there's tons of fonts. A lot of these are prefixed with TT. Okay, that's true type font. Then you'll see some which are SHX, and those are the old AutoCAD defaults. Those used to be the defaults back in the early days of AutoCAD when memory was at a premium, and these were really efficient pieces of text. But now when we have so much RAM and so much CPU capacity, it doesn't really matter anymore. But oftentimes I see a lot of employers still stick with the Roman S. So I'm going to go to R, type R, and drop down to Roman S, which is right there. That little symbol tells you it's an Autodesk text. Okay, and so I'm set up to Roman S, 3 inches high, and let's take a look at some of our options here. Okay, that's a font. Font style is regular. If I make this annotative, then what I'm telling AutoCAD is, I don't care what size I make the text, always keep it proportional to whatever the scale is down here that I set. Now, watch, if I hit annotative, this window is going to change. Okay, this now is changed to paper text height. So what I want to put in there is 1/8 or 0.12. So regardless of what scale, that text size will always be 0.12. I didn't type that in here, but that's what would happen. So sometimes this is really easy if you have a simple drawing. I would recommend, if you don't want to calculate what the text height is, that's fine. You can go ahead and use annotative. But for large scale projects, I would have to calculate it myself and then make different fonts for the different purposes. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and keep the 3 inches. Now again, that was for 0.12. Okay, we're going to make a couple other pieces of font text as well, or a couple of other styles. All right, so I'm okay there. Let's move on down to some of the next effects. Now, if you take a look, we can set our text upside down, backwards, or vertical. Okay, now in our case, we don't want any of those right now. Let's take a look at the width factor. Width factor is 1 inch, and in my case, I want to go 0.90, so 90% of the width, not 100. Oblique angle of 10%, and in most of the time, everybody uses 11 to 15%. And once I'm set, once I answered all these, I say set current. Okay, do you want to save the changes? Yes. And once I do, I close it. Okay, now I'm in here in model space. Again, paper space, model space. So now I want to lay my text down. I go ahead and type either text or DT is probably the simplest. Okay, and I'm just going to, now AutoCAD's prompting. I picked a point, now AutoCAD's prompting me what angle. So for the time being, I'm going to say 0. Okay, and the text is now prompting me to enter something. Bedroom number 1. Okay, say okay. Oh, have to accept it. Now look, it shrunk. It used to be big so you could read it, but now it's shrunk. This is now the size that you need it to be in your document. Okay, now if I move this, I'm going to move this over here, put it right there. Let's list it, L-I-S-T. If I list it, the text size is 3 inches. Okay, now how do we check to see if it is accurate to 0.125 in paper space? Okay, again, it's 3 inches in model space. What does it measure in paper space? So let me go to paper space by typing PS, zoom in there again, oops, zoom window right there, and I'm just going to eyeballically measure it, typing the command DI for distance. I type there, or I hit a point there, hit a point there, and I take a look, and it is truly 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now let's create one more piece of text, maybe one for this bedroom. Okay, and I want larger, more of a heading type, and let me type DI again because I want to make my text around that big, and that is going to be 1 5/16 inch. Okay, wow. Okay, 1 5/16. It's kind of an odd size. Let's try 1 1/4. Okay, so 1 1/4. Let's go back and do some math. So going back to do the math, let me erase this stuff. Okay, actually I can erase all that jazz. Okay, now we're going to do this again. 1 1/4 is the text size we want. So 1 1/4, okay, of an inch. And what we have is 1/2 of an inch equals 1 foot. We know that that 1 inch equals 2 feet. Remember from the previous exercise, that's 1 inch equals 24 inches. Okay, so this is 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5 fourths. So 5 fourths times, now we grab this number, 24 is equal to, okay, wait a minute, I just had to double check something. It looks like that's right. Okay, 24, multiply the size of the text you want by the 24. Remember the easy version like we did in civil. And this comes out to be, let's see, 4 goes into 4 ones, 4 goes into 24 6 times. Okay, wait a minute, that checked out. Okay, I'm sorry. And I had a memory lapse here. Okay, so again, as in the simple civil case where we just multiply the scale by the size of the height of the text, and now we're going to do the same thing here. Okay, 4 goes into itself 1 time, obviously. Goes in there 6 times. So 5 times 6 is equal to 30. Okay, so now the text height is going to be 30 inches as opposed to 3 inches. Okay, so substantially different. It's larger by 10 times. Okay, let's go into model space here, and let's type ST for style again. Okay, now we're going to make another one. Let's call this one, for the sake of simplicity, let's go ahead and say new, and let's just call this large. Okay, say okay. In this case, the text height was going to be 3 feet. Okay, wait a minute, let's check that again. It's 30 inches. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. 30 inches. 30 inches. Okay, and we're going to keep the same defaults of width and the oblique. So we say apply, and say close. Okay, so now we type DT and we start there. 0 is the orientation. Type in, let's say master, always do that, master 1. Okay, hit return, and now our text is that big. Okay, and let's go to paper space, zoom in there and measure to see how high it is. Remember, it's supposed to be 1 1/4, I think it is, DI. And measure that. 1 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so we're correct. So again, let's recap what I did mathematically. Okay, here's the height of the text that we want. You need to multiply it by your scale. So if you have 1/2 equals 1 inch, that's what you need to multiply it against. But, I'm sorry, I always do this. It's 1/2 of an inch equals 1 foot. Okay, but what you need is you need a 1 right there. Again, multiply both sides of the equation by the same number, and in this case, remember, we ended up with 1 inch equals 2 feet, because you need the 1 right here. When you get that accomplished, this is going to be in feet, you need to turn that into inches. Okay, so 2 feet equals 24 inches, obviously. So now you can finally figure out what size of text you need. So you multiply your scale, which is that, multiply by the 24, which is there, and that ends up 30 inches, or that's going to be 2 feet 6 inches. 24 plus 6, yep, that's 30 inches. Okay, that's how to do the math. So hopefully that's not too confusing. But besides that, you know what I did was I gave you a cheat sheet this past Saturday, and so if you look down that chart, you should be able to just look up what size text you need for the respective scale. Okay, let me teach you one other way of doing this. Let's go back to style. This is the cheater's way. This is, I'm going to create a new font. I'm going to call this Cheaters. Cheaters. And I don't know if I spelled that right, but that's okay. And the Cheaters font is going to be 1.25. That's what 1 1/4 is in inches, okay? 1.25. And I'm going to keep the same width factor. I'm going to set the Cheaters to current. Oh, Cheaters should be CHEATERS. I guess. I don't know. I'm the world's worst speller. Okay, I'm going to type DT, start here, 0, and I'm going to type master again, master 1. I'm going to put the space in there so we can see what the difference is. Return, and check that out. Look at that. It's the same size, okay? So notice that this is residing in paper space, that's residing in model space. Okay, I can't grab this one because I'm not in model space, but I can grab this one because I'm in paper space. Well, here's the trick. If you select the text that's in paper space and you go to the Modify tab and you use this little icon, Change Space, what will happen is AutoCAD will take this from paper space and drop it into model space. All you need to do then is select the text, go to the Properties menu, and I'll bring that over here so we can see it. And you'll notice that the height is 2 feet 6 inches, or the equivalent of 30 inches. Okay, so that's the cheater's way of doing it. Is that I can just create it in paper space, the size that you want. Go to the Modify menu, change the space, measure it, scale it, go to the Properties, and you'll see that it's the size that you want. Then all you need to do is type Style, and then once knowing that what size, hang on, it's not coming up. Style, there we go. Once you know the height of your text, you just go ahead and create the new, put in the height of the text, and you should be good to go. Okay. Okay, that's entering text via the DT method. That's just single line text. We're going to now proceed into going into multi-line text. You know, I thought better of going straight into multi-line text. I want to just do one more demo, and I want to create a font style that's annotative. Okay, so I'm going to type style, And I'm going to call this new style, NO for annotative. Say OK. And I'm going to go ahead and push this button right there. And here I'm going to put in 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. Okay. So regardless of whatever my scale is, that text that I place is going to be at 1/8 of an inch. Notice the little butt end here of the of your engineer scale or architect scale. That tells you that it's annotative scale. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close this. We're going to type DT, and I'm going to go up DT. There you go. And I'm going to say 0 for orientation, and I'm just going to put a bunch of gobbledygook in there. Return, and now it's this particular size. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to measure it. Text height is now 1/8 of an inch, okay, which we know because we defined it to be 1/8 of an inch. Now, let me go back. I'm going to create 2 lines. Line here, set ortho, create another line. And the reason I'm placing these lines in here is because when I change the scale, I want to make sure that we have something to compare it to. The new text when it expands, something to compare it to once we change that. Okay, here I also need to change this annotative visibility. Sometimes if you don't turn that on, your annotative text won't show up. Okay, so now if I go to model space, notice I'm still here at 1.5 to 1. I don't know if you can see that. I'll pull this up a little bit right there, and I'm going to change this to, heck, let's see. It doesn't want to. See if I can get this to. Oh, I locked it. That's why. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to change this to maybe 1/4. Okay, I changed it to 1/4 of an inch, which is half the scale that's before. Everything scaled down, but we're going to check our annotative text. So I'm going to zoom in there. And I'm going to move these lines. Move these lines. Now remember, okay, wait a minute, hang on. Okay, the lines moved up to the text, and check that out. The text stayed the same size relative to paper space. But notice that that's 1/8 of an inch, but if we take a look at our 2 little measuring utilities here, we'll notice that that text is about half the size. Let's see, yeah, about half the size. Okay, so let's see, now I want to check this out again. Keep your eyes on this text. Okay, I'm going to change the text again, go into model space, and I'm going to change that to 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, 1/8 of an inch, smaller. And notice that text stayed about the same size. So if I chose something even smaller, like 64th, now I'm going to go back to paper space, or yeah, paper space, zoom, and now my 1/8 of an inch lettering is actually bigger, annotatively, to the master bedroom text that we placed in there. Okay, let me highlight the text, and let's see what properties reports back to us. Now, one thing, I just highlighted the text. Notice this little ghost came down here. What that little ghost is the other scales of this text that are represented. Every time I punched a different scale, I got a different size text there. Okay, so I'm going to go to Properties 1, move properties over here so you can see it. If I go to Annotative Scale here, if I look, no, not that. Hang on. Let's see. Anno. No, that's not what I want. I want to look at the scales. Oh, here it is right here. It's right in front of me. If I take a look at the annotative scales, it's interesting. I only have one listed. But typically you might have more. Okay, depends on whether that annotative scale stuck when you changed this scale. Now that could be a nuisance, because what will happen is that you'll come in here. I'm really fortunate that I only have that 1/64th, because I've changed the text twice or 3 times. So what normally happens is you'll have 3 different scales, and sometimes AutoCAD gets locked into one. So even though you've changed the scale down here, the text doesn't change, and it stays locked, and you kind of wonder, well, did this even work at all? It does. What you have to do is go back into the properties and erase the other scales you don't want. Let me see if I can get it to do this. Okay. Paper space, zoom dynamic. Okay. Now let's go back into model space. Let's list this. See, notice it just, the ghost got bigger here because there's another annotative scale that's larger. Annotative scale. Let's see if 2 of them show up. Yeah, I see 2 of them showed up. Okay, so sometimes AutoCAD will lock you into one of these, and you need to erase one sometimes in order to get the text to look correctly. That's kind of why I say it's kind of a pain. Okay, now we're going to go into M-text. Okay, now I've just zoomed out a little bit more. So now what we're going to do is we're going to now use a multi-line text, which is going to act very similar to the way Microsoft Word performs. Now, it's not totally exactly the same, but it's kind of close. So if you know Word, you can probably get away with learning or working with the multi-line text editor in AutoCAD as well. Okay, so let's create a new font here. Typing ST for style. And in this case, we're going to make this one a new, and we're going to call this PPT for paper space. Let's capitalize that, PPS, something capitalized, PPS. There we go, 120. And we're going to make this text size 1/8 of an inch, true size, and this will not be annotative. So, but it'll still be 1/8 of an inch, true size. Okay, we're going to set that to current. It's PPS. Okay, we're going to close this now. Okay, all right. So now, in order to invoke the multi-line text creator, it's different, a little different than the regular text, which was the shortcut was DT. Now we're going to use MT. So go ahead and type MT, not MY, MT. Okay, and then you just pick one corner and then drag. So this is the size of your text box. So you can just kind of go to town. Okay. Okay. Once you're done, you say okay. Now here's your text all in one line in this case. But don't be fooled that if you take a look at these grips, you'll notice it's multi-line text. So if I grab this right grip, oops, I just went into model space. Here we go, back in paper space. If I pull the grip in, notice it automatically goes into multi-line mode. Okay, whereas before it was just single line mode. So now let me zoom back out here. Okay, now as with Word, this system operates under a couple of principles, which is that you can put in carriage returns and page breaks and put in special characters, and you can even copy and paste documents or words or whatever from another document and then paste it in here. So let me give you an example of that. If I open up my Dropbox here, wait, maybe I can get to it from here. Text demo. Let's try that. Okay, here's all this work, right? Or this text. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Control C. I'm going to minimize that, and then I'm going to come back to my document here, give myself a couple of spaces, and I'm going to just paste it in there. Okay. Say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to say okay yet. Well, I guess I did. So let me just take a look at what we have. Yeah. So there's all that text that I had from the previous cut and paste. All right. So next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the editor to set tab functions. Okay. So let me go ahead and double click. So you can type DD edit, for editing the text, or you can just double click it. Okay, so you can double click over here, it exits out of there, double click the text. Oops, double clicking gets me back into model space. Okay, double click the text, and I'm back into the text multi-text editor. Okay, now I think, let's see, pretty much in DT 1230 we covered all this, but I'm going to go just highlight some of the other stuff that we had done previously, but that we may have forgotten. Okay, so let me go back to this text formatting window. Again, we're using the PPS 120, and we're using Roman S font for that style, 1/8 of an inch high. We can bold it, we can italicize it, underline it, do all kinds of stuff with it here. Let's see what else we have. We can insert fields, which we're going to learn a little bit later on. We can insert symbols, import text, which I did already by cutting and pasting. You can paragraph align, a whole bunch of other things. You can auto caps. Sometimes, like all this right here is in lowercase. I'm going to leave that one. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to auto caps. And nothing happened. Let's see. Let's try that again. Doesn't work. Oh, auto caps. Oh, auto caps. Okay. Let's see. Yep, that's what it does. Okay. Okay, so what I thought auto caps did was it would change the case in all this lowercase text. If auto caps couldn't do it, I got a tool that can. If you go to this Express Tools, hopefully you can see it. It's right up here on the top. Right up here. If you invoke Express Tools, let's see. Say OK. I'm going to go ahead and bail out of this text. Back to Express Tools. If I go to text here, one of my options should be to to convert to. I don't see it. Modify text. Here it is, change case. Okay, so I want to go to uppercase and I hit it, and now that whole text box is uppercase. Okay, so let's go back, double click the text, because I want to go ahead and indent some of these items. So if I go in here, swipe this material right here, I can come back in and indent. Okay, oops, this one didn't go. Okay, maybe I need to push that one back. Yeah, so, but kind of see how I did that. Okay, now here I want, notice that these are bullets, and I can go ahead and hit the set a tab, and that's that little L thingy, and it's the same thing that that Microsoft Word has. Okay, and to get rid of them, you could just click them and then drag them off. So let's say I'm here. Let's say those first items. Go ahead and hit tab, and now unfortunately I had set a tab space right there. So now if I pull this over, hit tab again, it's going to jump this text back to the second tab. Okay, that's kind of what that does. So if I wanted this one, this content sit here, I can go type home, gets me to the end, and I can pull this top one and it drags across. Okay, so again, if you're familiar with Word, this works very similar to Word. Okay, let's talk about some of the other stuff that's up here. Here's your text align, and your, let's see, your slant angles here, as well as your width factor. But let's go back and talk about something that I didn't mention before, and that isn't symbols here. I'm sorry, not symbols, but fields. We're going to go ahead and insert fields. Fields are intelligent objects that read pieces of information off of your drawing, and when it does that, it makes your life a lot easier, because now you don't have to be scurrying for that information. You can just go get it. using the fields, and I'll explain the fields in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to mention that this functionality is here. You can't just type it in. You actually have to be in a command, especially when we get into tables. That'll be the case where you have to be in the cell and have to go get the field from a pull down rather than just issuing the command field. Okay, one of the other things you can get from this window. Now, I have my window contracted so I can record this, and it's going to look very different in AutoCAD full size, but right now I have to have this condensed so that I can record this whole little seminar. So just bear with me, please. So if we wanted to insert a symbol, I can come in here and remember from DT 1230 that we have this whole series of symbols that we can use with combinations of U plus whatever the factor is. Now remember, we also have characters that we can invoke using the %D, like in this case, if I wanted to put say degrees after that, I would type in %D, and it would give me the little degree symbol. Or I can space %P would give me a plus or minus space %C would give me the diameter. So you can see that under the symbols here that there's a whole myriad of things that we can do. Let's see. Oh, there's also some other symbols that we have to cover. Let's take a look at other symbols down here. Okay. So, there it is right there. Okay. Okay, so here's some other symbols that we can use. The unfortunate part about these symbols is that I have to go get them by typing in what I want, like this copyright here. Then I have to select it. I then have to copy it to the clipboard. Okay, and then come back to my text, and I got to right click, paste. And now that copyright symbol is in here. So it's kind of a clunky way to do it, but I guess that's the only way we can do it right now. Okay, let's see. Okay, now a couple of other things I wanted to mention. One of them is the alignment tool, okay? And unfortunately I didn't make that into an M text. So if I select it, I go back to my famous Express tools, go to text here. I should be able to convert to M text. Oh, it's up here, convert to M text. Okay, select the object I want to, and now it doesn't look like it's any different, but it's M text now. Okay, and these little grips show you that it's M text. So what I like to do, if I have M text that I need to center up into my box here, what I will do is probably take the grips right out to the edge of the box. Okay, but notice when I do that, I'm justified left. I'm not in the middle of the box like I wish I could be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center this up here, and since my grips are to the corners, well, here we go, set that one there. All I need to do now is change my alignment. So if I go up here, double click again, I have this text. Now if I notice, I think typically M text is always going to justify to the left, even regular old text. What I want to do is I want to get this text now. I want to center it up. So if I go here and I center, that will center the whole text up. Okay, see how that happened? Now I can justify right, same way, or I can justify, yeah, I'm not quite sure what this one does. It just says justify. This one's left, this one's center, and that's typically the one I want for a situation where I want to center it in the box. Okay, so my grips are still on the corners here, which ensures I'm going to center this up, and I just change it to center, and bam, I'm there. Okay, let's take a look at this blob of text that I imported in again. Okay, so here I am, and let's say your boss comes to you and says there's misspelled words. I want you to go through the whole drawing and make sure that all the spelling is correct. So most times, if I remember, I'm getting my programs mixed up. Sometimes F7 works for Word, or is it in AutoCAD? I forgot, but I think it's in Word. But what you can do is you can go to annotate here, and let's see, not markup. let's see, let me double click here. Heck, the easy way, you know what, I'm sorry that I'm fumbling so much, but it's because I'm in this kind of contracted mode here. But if I wanted to check the spelling of this text, all I have to do is type SP, okay? And typing SP, I can go ahead and let me cancel this. I can check the spelling of whatever text I need. So let me type SP, and up comes this window. And I want to check the entire drawing. Not in this case, I want to just check some specific text. So I have to select it. Okay, I can go ahead and start, and spell check will run across the text that I had entered. And notice that all these kind of funky text that I put in there is coming across. It's making some recommendations, and if I want to ignore, I just hit ignore. If I want to accept its recommendations, I go ahead and change. I'm really sad that AutoCAD put add to dictionary right up here, because it's so easy to add to the dictionary. So what if I would to invoke that, I would add this misspelled word into that dictionary. Okay, you know, so I think everybody's familiar with using spell check, so I don't think I'll go through that anymore. But what I will do is I'm going to go up here to the top of that text. Let me go back, let me pan, go to the top of the text, and I'm going to copy this piece of text right there. Copy. Okay, I'm going to use that for a reason. Okay, now again, because I'm in this contracted mode here, I'm looking for in the annotation window. You know what? Let me expand it out temporarily. I want to use the find and replace function. Okay. Let me go back to annotate. And it's never easy to find. I never find it when I need it. I always find it when I don't need it. Oh, you remember? Okay, let me see. Text. Find text. Let me go back. Minimize. Sorry about that. Let me pull this down so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, it was right in front of me here, the spell check. Rather than typing spell, I can invoke that. Now let's use the find command here. The find text is right here, and if I want to, I can paste what I had copied from here. So let's say I wanted to replace all the words concrete with PCC. PCC is the standard construction language for concrete. It's Portland concrete cement. Okay, so if I want to replace concrete with PCC, I would use this command. Okay, so now I would find this. Should find only one occurrence. So find it found that, and now I want to replace it with Alex. Oh, with mismatched case, which is okay for this purpose. And then I'm going to replace, let's say replace all. Okay, say only found one match, and we're done. And there it is right there. So that's why I copy and pasted it, because I didn't want to run the risk of misspelling it. So I copied it, pasted it in there, and then it ran the search. So like I said again, in the example I gave, is I want to replace concrete with PCC, I would use the find and replace command. So basically that's the gist of chapter 10, which is the text stuff that we've already gone through. This is just kind of a rehashing of what we've already done. So so hopefully it kind of like sparks some memories from stuff we were doing in 1230, DT 1230. So, and my apologies also for stumbling again. This is kind of late night. When I'm doing this tutorial, so my brain, I can sense it. It's working a little slow. So, and just my apologies. Okay, so I will post this up to YouTube and drop you guys an email, and hopefully you'll see this one. This is only the first half of week 3's lecture, so I still have to do that particular lecture on fields and tables as well. Okay, just look out for that next video. Okay, talk to you later.